Today is June 25th, 2026. Exactly 2 years ago, on this very day, the earth shook. An organic, leaderless, tribeless, fearful force called Gen Z poured into the streets, marched into Nairobi CBD, stormed the gates of parliament, and rewrote the rules of political defiance in Kenya. For a brief moment, the old political order looked vulnerable. For a brief moment in the Republic of Kenya, power looked nervous. For a brief moment in the Republic of Kenya, the youth became the headline. But today, the streets are quiet, the roads are clear, the chants are gone. The heavy boots of the GSU are patrolling empty tarmac. The much-hyped anniversary demonstrations have dissolved into a whisper. And the question echoing across the Republic of Kenya is simple. Where are the youth? Where are the Gen Zs? Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to explain. You see, there is an African proverb that says that a crowd without a leader is a pile of dry wood waiting for a match. But a crowd with too many chiefs becomes a forest fire that burns itself out. When the Gen Zs emerged in 2024, their greatest weapon was anonymity. They had no chairman, they had no secretary general, they had no headquarters, they had no official spokesperson. And because the Gen Zs had no face, the state had no neck to grab. But you see, something changed fundamentally. Professional activists like Boniface Mwangi arrived. Structures appeared. Funds were proposed. Committees emerged. Commemorations were organized. The revolution slowly began looking less like a movement and more like an institution. And Gen Zs did what Gen Zs always do when something smells suspicious. The Gen Zs questioned it. Many young people began asking the uncomfortable question, are we fighting for justice or are we becoming someone's project? In simple language, you die, they earn. You see, the moment a movement starts looking like a corporate press conference, the Gen Zs log out. They refuse to become the fuel for someone else's political limousine. As if that was not enough, the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua entered the picture. In dramatic fashion, Rigathi Gachagua warned young people not to step into the streets. Rigathi Gachagua spoke of danger. Rigathi Gachagua spoke of violence. Rigathi Gachagua spoke of organized terror. Now, allow me to think about this critically. Has Rigathi Gachagua suddenly become the patron saint of youth safety in the Republic of Kenya? Ladies and gentlemen, this is political chess by Rigathi Gachagua. This is a masterclass in political positioning. By warning the youth, Rigathi Gachagua achieved two objectives simultaneously. First and foremost, Rigathi Gachagua appeared as the caring elder protecting young lives. Secondly, Rigathi Gachagua painted his opponents as ruthless villains waiting to unleash force, waiting to kill young people. That is not politics, ladies and gentlemen. That is strategy. Yet the young people, the Gen Z, saw right through it. The Gen Zs remembered another proverb that the crocodile does not wash its teeth to smile at the fish. Under Article 37 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, every Kenyan has the right to assemble. Every Kenyan has the right to demonstrate. Every Kenyan has the right to picket. Every Kenyan has the right to present petitions peacefully and unarmed. Many young people interpreted the warnings by Rigathi Gachagua not as protection, but as an attempt to psychologically shape their decisions. And once again, the Gen Zs refused to become pawns in an elite political chessboard. As if that was not enough, the so-called united opposition made an appearance. Kalonzo Musyoka and his allies attempted to transform June 25th into a permanent National Liberation Day. Kalonzo Musyoka promised a massive turnout. Kalonzo Musyoka promised the mother of all demonstration. He promised a historic moment in the Republic of Kenya. But where was Rigathi Gachagua? You see, Rigathi Gachagua was missing. Where was the grand opposition machine? The grand opposition machine was fragmented. Where was the unity of the united opposition? The unity of the united opposition was nowhere to be seen. The entire coalition looks like scrambled eggs on a hot pan. And you see the Gen Zs watched carefully. And what the Gen Z saw was not a united struggle for justice. What the Gen Z saw was politicians preparing for the 2027 general election. Historically, Kenyan politicians have often viewed young people as political capital, useful during campaigns and forgotten after winning the elections. But you see, today's youth are different. The Gen Zs are different. The Gen Zs read. The Gen Zs research. The Gen Zs compare. And most importantly, the Gen Zs remember. And that is very dangerous, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let me address the most dangerous conclusion being drawn from this evening. Some people are looking at these quiet streets and declaring that William Ruto is now guaranteed 2 terms. Not so fast, ladies and gentlemen. You see, that conclusion is as premature as declaring a football match won in the 20th minute. Silence is not surrender. Absence is not approval. And staying home is not the same thing as supporting the government. The same Gen Zs that refuse to be mobilized by activists can refuse to be mobilized by politicians. The same Gen Zs that rejected opposition opportunism can reject government performance. What happened today in the Republic of Kenya may not be an endorsement of anyone. It may simply be a rejection of everybody. And that distinction matters, ladies and gentlemen. Because elections are not won by who shouts the loudest in the streets. Elections are won by who earns trust when citizens enter the ballot box. So the big question today remains, why were the streets quiet today? Because Gen Zs may have learned the most powerful lesson in politics. When you dance with politicians, politicians always choose the music. By refusing to be summoned by activists, by refusing to be summoned by opposition figures, by refusing to be summoned by political veterans, the Gen Z sent a message. And that message was louder than slogans. That message was louder than whistles. That message was louder than demonstrations. The Gen Zs demonstrated the power of strategic silence. And sometimes, ladies and gentlemen, silence is observation. Silence is calculation. Silence is independence. And in politics, ladies and gentlemen, silence can be the loudest roar of all time. My name is Briketing. If it is your first time here, make sure to follow this channel and to subscribe for more political analysis.